Europe?
Yes.
Well, quite simply, the Fed has positioned itself in such a fashion that it basically owns Europe. If you'll check the news, you'll find that there's been extraordinary amounts of monies, freshly printed stuff, of course, shipped to bolster the European Union. Now, the problem with the European Union is that they are beginning to disagree with the idea that a financial interest can tell you how to run your country. This was what the new agreement was supposed to be. So far, it's not been approved. And the reason being is that people like the idea of being sovereign, they like the idea of being independent, and they like the idea of being free. So you have the European Union saying, well, we're going to have to be austere. That means that we're going to mess up your economy, and I'll give you Greece as an example. And in doing so, you just get to suffer through it for 30 years. Then, for the icing on the cake, they have convinced somebody, and I don't know exactly who might be uneducated enough to fall for this, that you can borrow your way out of debt. I'm sorry, folks, but it don't work that way. My bank gets all upset when I write a check and there ain't money in there. So, quite simply, not only is that not going to work, but they don't have the whole of the system. Now, this includes Europe and America, parts of Canada, South America, and other countries. The problem is that the central banking system, the private corporation, is now limited to the funds on hand. And the only thing they can do is transfer these things sideways. They cannot accrue further funding. And the problem, and the real big one, is that the system itself is not able to function other than as a consumer orientation. In other words, just like a Ponzi scheme, you bring in money to pay off the old. That sort of thing. They don't have the capability of bringing any of the new monies in because of the combination of the Eastern Alliance and actions being taken against them presently. So they're pretty much screwed.
Right.
Okay.
Was there anything else you want? I was going to say, is there anything else you wanted to address? Because it's looking like we've only got about 2 minutes left.
Yeah. How far down the list will the arrest take place? Might it include state governors or state officials? How can we know that all the crooks have been adjudicated?
Well, first of all, yes, it does go to those levels. Secondly, nobody will really know absolutely until these people start coming out of the woodwork, trying to either run, hide, or cover themselves. They'll basically expose themselves by taking actions of that nature.
Now, you've basically answered this question on other shows, and I'm pretty sure you've answered on this show, but I'm going to ask it anyway. As Iceland announced that all mortgages have been forgiven, will that happen here?
That's going to end up being the case globally.
Okay. Because if I'm not mistaken, we're getting off the debt system worldwide. Is that correct?
Yes, you're going from a debt system to an equity system. It's an extraordinary change, and it's going to screw up everything in terms of what people are familiar with to an extent, but they're going to like it.
And if I can just chime in, Paul Hillier, former Canadian defense minister, is talking about this in detail. So if anybody wants really good information about the details about how to move from one system to another, look up Paul Hillier, listen to his stuff on YouTube. He goes into some wonderful detail.
Awesome.
I think it's also very interesting that President Harper of Canada announced publicly a couple of days ago that 18,000 border personnel would be laid off because the government could not afford them anymore.
All right, folks, I hate to call this to an end, but we have another show coming up with Matt Navarro, and it's time for his show. I want to thank Deatra, Bill, and Drake for being on here. And
I have a pleasure.
We'll have you back again, Deatra. I know we will.
Oh, definitely. I look forward to it.
And here we
Y'all
go out with one of my favorite songs Tim Hawkins.
Wait a minute.
No, I can't. Go ahead.
Yeah, wait a minute.
Welcome back, my beloved brothers and sisters all around this fragile but beautiful, but oh so corrupt world. This is the United We Win Marathon Weekend on Wolf Spirit Radio, United We Strike Radio, and who knows how many other stations are carrying us. Anyways, the co-host for this hour is Deatra and Drake, with my co-host Tom and Bill Wood. And we have several questions that we have from the chat room. We're going to take those right after Bill says what he has to say. Go ahead, Bill.
Okay, thanks, Dave. And Deatra and Drake, thanks for having me on. I know we've spoken a lot privately, but it's good to have everybody on the same radio show today. For everybody that's listening, I just wanted to remind everybody that the Wolf Spirit radio listeners and people that listen to my interviews on Project Camelot, it's not a coincidence that Drake is putting out the exact same information. Because it's real, it's tangible. In my Project Camelot interviews, I talked about mass arrests and how the military and other government agencies, Secret Service, federal marshals, FBI, the people that took an oath to protect this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic, they're the ones that are seeing what's really going on in the world and in government. And they're the ones that want change more than anything. I guarantee there's hundreds of thousands of soldiers and sailors out there that are seeing the real effects of what the U.S. military does in the Middle East and throughout the world, and they don't want to be the people creating terror. They want to be the ones making change. And so the way to go about that is to enable them to uphold their oaths. What Drake has been talking about is that means to give them the legal authority to start arresting the real criminals in all this, to go after the people that would do anything to continue to perpetuate war and corporate spending and the military-industrial complex and the financial industry to hold on to the power that they have. What's happening now today is the last desperate gasps of that power trying to hold on and cling to the authority that they have. And it's getting to the end of the game. I talked about it in late January and early February about Checkmate, and this game was being played out, and soon everybody would identify that it is coming to an end, and the good guys are going to win, and that this battle that we've been left to believe is being perpetuated, both sides of the battle are working together to perpetuate the war. All we're talking about doing is ending the fighting. And that's the way it's going right now. The people that want continue to make things confrontational and the need for fear to enable them to continue this perpetual war and perpetual internment of the world is going away. And I would encourage everybody that's listening right now to use your own discernment. Don't listen to people that try to dictate what your opinion should be. And certainly walk away from anybody who is trying to enable fear. Because right now there's nothing to be afraid of. If you talk to me or Drake, we're excited. We're happy. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it is coming fast, and all we're trying to do is to get everybody to realize that that's what's really going on. We don't need to be afraid of the military. We don't need to buy into the fear porn that's coming on the internet saying, martial law is moments away, because
right.
if you see the military, they're doing their jobs. I guarantee it.
Let me interrupt you. I've actually had a question for you to address this Steve Quayle fear-mongering video or YouTube that went out.
Yep.
Telling everybody to take arms against our military, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm already sick of it, and I only got the silly link yesterday.
Yeah, I've been under the Steve Quayle attack too, and I'd like to point out to everybody that he made a prediction. I think it was for March 21st. That there would be this, huge thing that happens, an end of days scenario, and he's had many, many predictions that continue to perpetuate this game of fear. But you go to Steve's website, and all I see is buy my stuff, invest in gold, and somebody that continues to perpetuate the New World Order kind of agenda. And we're just playing right into yet another person who uses fear to profit.
Yep.
And if he puts out a bunch of information that says, be afraid, be afraid, be afraid, everybody jumps on his website, checks it out, starts to, see all the worry and fretting that he does, and they buy into it. Once again, opinion being controlled by somebody else. Everybody that's out there that's telling you the truth is going to say, you know what? You can believe what you want to believe, but here's what I know. Use your discernment. You decide what's really going on in the world. He doesn't do that. He tells people what to think and to be afraid. And, back when we talked on the first radio show on Freedom Reigns, I said the disinfo was going to come out with a vengeance. And I think I was 100% right. I think you guys would agree.
Right. Exactly.
Absolutely.
And if I could answer one more thing, everybody that's saying why Drake doesn't come out with his real name, well, you need an example of why? Look at what happens. What's happened to me.
Let me correct this. Drake is using his real name. That's what people don't. They're assuming that it's an alias. This Drake is his real name. Period.
Let me restate that. Why Drake isn't coming out with 100% of all of his personal information that makes him vulnerable to lawsuit attacks, attacks from, disinfo agents, and people that would more than happy go after family, friends, and anybody else to shut him down. I mean, Dave can comment on this. He's been under constant attack since I've been on Wolf Spirit, and he's stood fast and held true, but it hasn't been easy. I respect Drake for maintaining some level of personal anonymity, because it really, in the grand scheme of things, doesn't change the message. And the message is what's important. Drake's last name, not important. He's protecting his family, he's protecting his friends, and he's protecting his privacy. But he should have to do that. But everybody's seen what's happened to me and to Wolf Spirit Radio, because my anonymity was corrupted, and the Don Shipleys of the world will come out with a vengeance and tear apart every piece of personal freedom that somebody has to shut them down. And that's unfortunate, the reality of what we're going through. So, good job, Drake, for being able to focus on the message and not the sniping comments that are coming in from the outside that say, oh, well, you're just, you're not telling the truth because you can't even tell everybody who you are. Well, that's bogus. You can come out, you can tell the truth, and at the same time maintain the peace and privacy of your own personal life. That's my comments.
Thank you. That really helps a lot. It really does. Okay, Dave, we had comments from the chat room.
Yes, we